10 years ago, we knew that chronic exposure to cell towers would increase type 2 diabetes in children. There's a study of between two different schools, around 156 students, if I remember correctly. Back then, these were cell towers that were 3G, 4G, way less, lower frequency wavelengths. They were less intense, and they operated in a different manner than the 5G, 4G towers today. Plus, they had far fewer antennas. So the density of the frequencies were less than today, dramatically less. Since 2020, over 1 million brand new small cell towers for 5G have been put up around just the United States. What has it done in Canada, in Mexico, in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, all around the world? We've had an explosion of these cell tower, this infrastructure. And in 2015, we knew that that would cause diabetes.
That's shocking to me when I think about how little effort was put into the next generation. When I was going to school, we didn't even have cell phones. We had landlines. And, I had to get up to turn the channels on my TV. Okay, I'm really talking. A lot has happened in
Yeah.
just, gosh, 35 years. I mean, my generation has seen more advancement and not for the better. It became such a world of instant gratification. And I also see where our food today and what children are exposed to and the fast food, and there's no frequency in the foods they're eating. And you're right. Frequency is everything. That's what we talk about here all the time at Braveheart Nation, Doc Talks, is that we are frequency beings. And what are you doing to raise your frequency? Because frequency determines whether you're going to be sick or not. You actually can't catch a cold if you're at a frequency above 58. When we think, how hard is it to make that happen? So I'm so glad you're here talking about this, Dan. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, and it's important for us, and it can lead to long-term issues if we don't address it. So while it leads to diabetes, we also know it leads to heart disease, cancer, and dementia as well. Here's a chart. This is taken from some of the research done by Arthur Furstenberg and others, but it shows the history of electromagnetic pollution. They call it electropollution, electrodensity, but it shows just the dramatic rise. And you were saying this, you've seen it in your own lifetime, how rapid we're advancing technology today versus, 100 years ago. It's eye-popping and mouth-dropping to think about it. And it brings a tears to your eyes when you think about the fact that we've known that these things caused health issues for a long time, and the regulatory bodies that are in charge of this and the companies that are in charge of this have really appeared to turn a blind eye to it. And it's creating this health epidemic that is unseen. You can't smell it, you can't see it, and yet it's affecting us dramatically. How can we get our frequencies up? That's what we're focused on, is natural light versus junk light. This EMF pollution, it is a form of light, all the electromagnetic frequencies. If we think about it from a physics perspective, it is a form of light, but it's junk. It's not natural. It's non-native. It's artificial. It's like all the artificial food colors and additives that are added to the fast foods and the most of the grocery store food. It's all junk food. We know that. We call that junk food now. And there's a big highlight on that. But we've known about light being junk since the 1970s with Robert Becker and John Ott doing their studies and saying, look, non-native EMF affects us and affects our health. We have to get back to where we get natural light. And that's what we do with these products. We've introduced lifeguard technology to the Doc Detox and the Braveheart Nation. This lifeguard technology is a quantum level technology that not just mitigating the EMF, but also bioharmonizing, bioconditioning. So within minutes, we have reports and studies, within minutes, we'll correct that disharmony that the EMF produces, while also long-term supporting deeper sleep, greater energy, improved balance. These are all critical aspects to getting that frequency up and maintaining that frequency. We're helping support that parasympathetic state for rejuvenation and regeneration. You can only rest and repair when you're in parasympathetic. EMF, one of the things that it does, it keeps you in fight or flight response. It keeps you on the higher on the sympathetic side, which prevents some of that deeper healing and rejuvenation that our body wants to do.
And when we have all of these different things coming at us, we're not in that sympathetic state, which is the only healing state that happens in the body.
We're all affected by this problem. So these benefits extend not just to us, but because of our larger devices and the way we've made these products, we can scale to not just ourselves, not just our pets. Trust me, you put this on your pet, on your dogs, and notice, just pay attention to how they respond and how they react. The sentinels that will actually protect a whole home, homestead, garden, even an entire farm, up to almost any size farm that you have, a farm or ranch. So the ability to reverse the effects of the EMF that were shown in that study in 2015, as well as the thousands of other studies that show similar results, the solution's here. That's why Dr. Wolf has brought me on, and it's why we're integrating this lifeguard technology into his practices, because of the impact they're having at our cellular mitochondrial level, but for people, plants, and animals. This universal quantum energizer, this box right here, it has a tray that you can set the plates into. And inside this, we've embedded some scalar technology. So now you're getting the photonic energy from the plates coupled with the scalar technology to expand the directional field of these plates significantly. So with the 4-inch plates, that goes to around 600 to 800 square feet. With the 5-inch plates, we can protect a home and about a 1.5 acre area around the home. And then with the 7-inch plates, that expands out to about around a 3.5 acre area. So you're getting that bioharmonizing quantum energy field broadcast throughout the house. Why we have the universal quantum energizer is that because of the way the plates are developed, they're directional, they're like a beam of light. We want to include that scalar technology to then take that focus beam of light and expand it out to be like a floodlight, and that's the mechanism for doing that. So very dynamic and versatile tools. And then we have the Sentinel Plus, which are, if you have a place of business, a building, commercial building, or a farm, or you live in an urban setting and you want to help improve the quality of the entire ecosystem and environment around your home, that's what these Sentinel Plus devices do. They are going to couple with the electrical panels, but they also produce that bioharmonizing field and quantum energy field over multiple acres, anywhere from a couple hundred acres to several thousand acres. So these are very powerful as far as how they harmonize the environment. And our wildlife are affected by these cell towers and the internet satellite, just as much as everything else. And so by placing these out in areas that are sensitive like that, we can actually start to see that ecosystem, that environment return. And we see this with farmers all the time. Dairy farmers and ranchers are always reporting about their improved production. We see fertility in these cows start to improve and be restored within weeks. So if you're having fertility issues, these cows may be an example for you in how these products are helping improve fertility and conception. A lot of cows struggled when we had the Starlink in 2019, 2020, and the onslaught of 5G, and we've started to see a lot of those things get reversed. It's really amazing. These farmers, their lives are on the edge, and we're helping them bring back their farms to them. So keep those things in mind. But that's what these products are able to do. And there's just so much more we can get into. We want to support you and help you achieve these same results that these testimonials are having and that Cheryl has experienced. We want you to have the same. And we know it's possible because these products are scientifically engineered. So they're not something we've just hope and wish that we got the right mineral mix correct or we found the right rocks. It's none of that. These are scientifically engineered using physics to produce the quality light that's needed. And that's where we get these consistent, repeatable, amazing stories. And because they're scientifically designed and engineered, they actually will last a lifetime. How do we do this? Well, what's unique about our product is these plates are mirror back stainless steel. You can see it's highly reflective, and that's reflecting all the natural light in the atmosphere. So UV light, infrared light. Okay, not just the atmosphere, but also our own body. We produce weak emission infrared called biophotons. Those biophotons are also restructured by these plates, and we use plasmonics as well as vortex technologies to enhance the quality and the quantity of the light that comes off of these plates. When that happens, we actually see that we're getting that full body harmonization. We're helping support that parasympathetic state for rejuvenation and regeneration. You can only rest and repair when you're in parasympathetic. EMF, one of the things that it does, it keeps you in fight or flight response. It keeps you higher on the sympathetic side, which prevents some of that deeper healing and rejuvenation that our body wants to do. We also then have a wideband full spectrum photonic energy. Cellular bioconditioning supports the longevity and wellness. We've mitochondrial support. So I want to share, Cheryl, just a few testimonials.
I was excited about the tool that would take the EMF stress off of plants, livestock, and animals. And I think this is it's actually worked better than what I even dreamed. Plants, animals, crop yields, I think we increased everything by at least 20%. Hi Dan, I'm John Wood. I'm a fifth generation family farmer in Lewis County, northeast Missouri, 2 miles away from the Mississippi River. This is some of the beautiful hill country as it falls off into the river valley. I've been an Allen Savory advocate since about 1993 or 4. We started producing grass-fed beef in 1997 as kind of a Missouri show me state type project. We didn't think it was going to work. We did it for 3 years in a row, but we realized this was a really viable project. And so we started U.S. Wellness Meats in September of year 2000. We were way ahead of the curve. No one knew what it was, but we were persistent, a good Scotch-Irish ancestry, and we were able to make this thing work. Last 3 or 4 years, summer performance, year-round performance was starting to trend downward. And I'm a little puzzled by it. I've tested the water, tested the soil, fecal sample the animals. Nothing really stood out. And I really think there's an EMF factor going on. 3G phones came out 10, 12 years ago. 3G just kind of barely able to give you no signal to do a phone call. Then the internet became widely accepted on the mobile devices. 4G phones came available here 5 or 6 years ago. I think the 4G was just a higher frequency, more bombardment, and I think we were starting to affect animals. When we just first met back in December of 2019, actually came across your business and your company through a biofeedback doctor, holistic doctor that I knew, and he made the introduction. I'm a person that's not afraid to try new things. After visiting with your agronomist in New Zealand for 45 minutes, I became quite convinced. He's been around as long as I have on the planet, and that he was skeptical, and he'd been doing research for 10 years. And he said, you're going to see a 20% increase in grain crops, 20% or more increase in live animal performance. Plants are going to be better. And it's kind of fascinating to me that EMF stress is going to affect green living plants. It affects the photosynthesis, affects the plant's ability to grow. And I've seen ample evidence. I just produce a ton of forage. We were involved in University of Missouri forage research thing this summer. My son went out every 10 days with a special tool that University of Missouri has developed to measure how much forage growth, and they were somewhat shocked at how much forage growth we saw on this farm. They were kind of amazed. We just had forage coming out of our ears. Even on the fence rows, you have the bird, poops on the fence row, the sprouts come up, and I think I've never seen things grow so fast in fence rows this year. A soybean, I got 30 acres of soybeans under EMF, 30 acres 10 miles away, and there was almost a 20 bushel increase. The rainfall patterns are about the same. There might have been a few little variable factors, field edge factors, but there's not that much yield difference just based off of normal wear and tear in crops in this area. So I'm convinced I've got at least a 20% increase in yields off those soybean plants. It looks to me like the easiest way to pick up your return on equity, return on investment. This doesn't cost that much, and I think you look at the overall picture of commercial agriculture, it's a really low margin game. The The input costs are always driven by what the sellers can get away with. This is an unfair advantage for producers to take advantage of. Just weighed some of these animals over my shoulder about 2 weeks ago, and it looks to me like they're gaining about 2¼ pounds a day. Now this is no grain inputs, no energy inputs whatsoever. This is just forage growth, forage, and we had some really hot days this summer. You can do over 2 pounds a day in this environment on conventional pasture in northeast Missouri. It's extremely well. You figure in the summertime you're going to get about 1.35 to 1.5 pounds a day is good. You get over 2 pounds a day, you're really, really happy. And I've seen this 5 or 6, 7 years ago, but I haven't seen it for the last 4 or 5 years, and I think we've got really good evidence that we've improved it dramatically this year.
I mean, just what we saw with the cows deciding that they could now have calves again, it just made all the difference.
Yeah.
Been dairying for 48 years, my wife and I. And we've seen a lot of different things come and go, and we just stay away from basically modern technology because that's usually done by the experts, and the experts don't even know which end of the cow the milk comes out of. And so we kind of stay away from that as much as possible. And so anytime something on the farm doesn't seem like it's working quite right, we start looking at ourselves. What are we doing different? What did we change? Because it's kind of, we're secluded up here. We're away from pretty much all other influence. Mm-hmm. And so here about 2 years ago, all of a sudden it's like none of the cows would start back and have heat cycles after they had calves. And when they did have heat cycles, they wouldn't settle with calf. And we're just like, we're going through everything that we normally do, and it's just, what did we change? Something's different. And we couldn't put a finger on anything. And then Darren started talking to me about this grounding out the electromagnetism, and I guess I still didn't jump at the opportunity as quick as I should have until he finally decided, I'm going to come out and set one up and see what happens. Took, I would say it was about a month before I started to see things happen. And after you set that up, we had a couple cows that had calves 2 weeks, 3 weeks after it got installed. And those cows started having cycles 10 days, 2 weeks after they had calves, which is pretty normal. We had cows that were going 4 and 5 months before they would ever start having cycles again. And the conception rate was terrible. I mean, we were probably 25% at best, and that was never on the first try through. It was third and fourth time. The change was so quick. I mean, and we didn't change anything else. We brought the conditioner out and set it up, and we just said, well, we'll just continue as and see if anything changes. This one here is one that's, that was the biggest thing. I mean, we saw some other little things like the taste of the water coming out of the faucet was different. It tasted cleaner and sweeter. We had 2 particular cows. We take for our own house use, and we'll milk the cow right into a pail, then put it in jars and take it to the house rather than dip it out of the tank. We had a couple of them, if you took their milk, it had a different flavor about it. Me, I can't taste flavors real good, but there's other members of the family that says, what's wrong with the milk? Well, we've tried both of them again since, now that the conditioner's there, and they can't tell any difference. It did something. Changed the flavor of that milk. But yeah, that was the biggest, I'm kind of interested to see what happens next year with the crops. And we haven't had hardly any birds around here for a couple of years. It's just like no bluebirds and only a few robins. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when the geese are flying, their formation is all fouled up, and there'll be some going this way and some will be going that way. And they used to just honk, 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 honk the whole time. Now you hardly ever hear them. Maybe I'm just going deaf. But they're all confused. You can tell that. Their formations are fouled up and they're going different directions. And it's like, what's going on? And so, but this has really kind of opened our eyes and has given us an opportunity to put this thing in place. And we were kind of worried about how much longer we were going to be able to keep dairying. I mean, if you can't get the cows to have calves again, they taper off, dry up, and, well, that's the end of the show. But now everything seems to be working back near normal again, and we're real encouraged by it. And I realize that all the healing doesn't take place immediately, but my wife says that she definitely sleeps far better than she has before. Now, I'm a home person, always have been, until we started doing raw milk 10 years ago. And so I got 2 milk runs a week to make. You know, I'm in the tune of 150, 160,000 miles in the last 10 years delivering milk. And that's completely out of normal for me. And so I have troubles the night before my milk run sleeping well, but the rest of the time doing much better. And both of our kids that are still at home said they both sleep better. And so we're still weeding it out, and healing is still taking place. But yeah, my wife says her energy level is much better than it was. I thought she was running circles around me before, but now it's like if I catch a glimpse of her heading in the over the horizon, I'm almost caught up. I mean, just what we saw with the cows deciding that they could now have calves again, it just made all the difference. Yeah, it's just been a noticeable difference, and it happened quickly.
Yeah.
That was what was really surprised me. It's like, honey, we didn't change anything else. You know, that conditioner's been down there for 3 weeks or a month, and these 2-3 cows that have calved have already started having heat cycles again. And I says, it's making a better farmer out of me. Now those things I've been doing all these years and they weren't working anymore are starting to work again. So
These products are pretty advanced technology. They require a lot of skilled labor. We've been developing these since actually the 1980s. We've got tens of millions of dollars back into the R&D. Really, the price reflects the quality of the product and the effect it's going to have in our lives. And just so you know, we do have a money back guarantee on all the products. Even the large ones that are several $1,000s always have a money back guarantee, and our return rate is less than 1%. So people are using these. They're finding the success. They're finding the results. You saw that from the testimonials. You saw it from your own testimony. We're here to serve and make these things available and to share them with you. I want people to do their own research and then come to us with any questions.
So I just want to let people know, just imagine how powerful this would be if we had this in every school. And we go back to that study you were talking about. And I love that Dan's here. I love his enthusiasm and all that he brings to the table. And when you ask yourself, why do people ask how expensive it is? The question should be, how much am I worth to myself? Yeah. And I encourage people to just keep track of how much money you spend on coffee when you go out to Starbucks or eat out and you're eating zero frequency food. And if you took all that money and saved it, you'd be able to buy something like this in less than a month. Because, you know, people don't think about it when they're spending, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks at a time. But when you're doing that on a regular basis, the money really adds up. You could be doing so much better things for yourself.